In this video, I'm going to teach you guys everything you need to know about HTML, especially if you are a beginner, then this video is for you. Alright, first thing that I'm gonna need to do is I'm gonna need to go to Google and search for W3 Schools. And W3 Schools is a really great resources out there, especially if you want to learn HTML, then this website or this resource is something that you do not want to miss. And it's not only for HTML. If I click on it, I can see that I can learn different other languages as well, such as HTML, CSS, Bootstrap, and so much more on this website. But what we're going to do for this website is I'm going to leverage this website and kind of walk you guys through and do some sort of hands-on coding to kind of walk you guys exactly through how you would go about learning HTML and tell you everything that you need to do in terms of resources and how you can find help and so much more. Again, this entire video is more beginner friendly, so I'm gonna go as slow as possible in order to make sure that at least everybody can follow along. So again, guys, whenever you guys go to this website, if you take a look and see very tutorials about HTML, you can see that HTML is the standard markup language for web pages, and that means that you use HTML in order to build or create what they call websites. So if you ever go to any big website out there, it doesn't matter if it's Amazon, Facebook, people use to create those web pages. And the cool thing about HTML that I really like, especially guys for you that want to get into it, is it's very easy for you guys to learn. So it's not like you need a lot of experience, and especially this video is definitely for those that do not know much about HTML, or maybe you do, but I'm gonna walk you guys through step by step, and it really kind of explain everything guys you need to know about HTML. And trust me, you will enjoy it just like I enjoyed doing this video. So if we take a look at some example of HTML, this is a perfect example on this website. And the cool thing I like about W3 Schools is if you click on here, you have the ability for you to try this HTML in the browser. So let's assume that I wanted to kind of change this to something else. I could say this is my first HTML page. I can do something like that. You can feel free to edit something like this on the web page, and whenever you're done, click this run button. This will run the code for you, and now you can see now this entire thing's changed to be this is my first HTML page. Again, you can kind of mess around with it. For example, I can change this to be this is just in order to test, something very basic for you guys to kind of have the idea on how this look. If I run it again, and here's my result on this page. This website is really incredible. You can do so much more with it in terms of, hey, you write the code in there and then you can see the output in this. But the big question is that really how we as a professional developer work with HTML? Well, the answer is no. Of course, this is a really quick way for you guys to get your hands dirty, but what we need in order for us to work with HTML, if we go here on their where it said HTML editor, they will kind of give you everything that you need to have on your computer in order to start building web pages with HTML. Before we go into that section, I want to call something out which is very important. Now, company are encouraging folks from different background. Either you are doing public relations, either you're working with some sort of content stuff within certain companies. Companies are encouraging folks to learn the basic of HTML in order for them to be able to edit certain things on the web page. So it's highly recommended, even though you want to get into programming or not, to have a basic understanding of HTML. You need at least a notepad or text edit in order to start writing HTML on your computer. So for example, you can use either your notepad if you are on Windows, or you can use text edit if you are on Mac. Again, in order for me to kind of show you an example, I go on my Mac and press Command Shift Command Shift and I search for text edit. And this is the app that you're going to use in order for you to start writing your HTML file. Again, we're just going to give you guys a demo, but we're going to show you exactly what professional developers in the industry are using in order for them to write their HTML code. So all you need is a very simple text editor. Now, in case yours isn't looking like this, you can go here into the preferences, and then once you are here, make sure that instead of selecting the rich text, select the plain text and then open on save. And whenever you here, make sure that you check this box right here, okay? And then you need to restart your text edit in order for you to be able to do that. But in order for me to start writing HTML in here, all I have to do is start writing what they call tags, and every single thing's inside HTML or representing of a tag. So let's take a look. So I'm going to start with a very simple tag, an opening tag. Again, if this doesn't make sense for you guys, don't worry. The goal behind this right here is to kind of show you guys what are the tools you can use in order to start writing your HTML file. So I can go here and say hello world, and then I go under file and then click save, and it's going to give it a name. I'm going to name this one index.html, and I'm going to name this one index.html. And the thing about working with HTML, every single file that you have, they all need to end with .html. So again, in order for you to write HTML, make sure that every single file that you have, they all end with .html. Otherwise, you would not be able to start working with it. So once I've done that, make sure you know where you want to save it. In my case, I'm saving it inside my document. You can save it wherever you want inside your computer. And if I save that, there you go. I can make sure that I use .html, and there you go, ladies and gentlemen, my HTML is written. So the way for us to open this in the browser now, I need to go inside the Finder. I open my Finder and then I navigate wherever this file is located. In my case, it is located in my document. Again, if you guys are on Windows, make sure that you can navigate where you save that files, and in order for you to open it inside the browser, you can either double click on it, or for example click on it twice, or I can drag it and paste it into my browser right here. And there you go. This is our first HTML that we write using text edit and so on. Again, guys, it is very, very easy to learn. It is not scary as you think it is. It is very, very simple to get started with, okay? However, with nowadays we are on 2020, it's not recommending to write HTML using Notepad or text edit. There is a professional tools that people use in order to start writing HTML, and that is called VS Code. So if I go into Google and I search for download VS Code, and I need to make sure that I click on here and download this into my computer. Again, it might look a little bit scary at first, but as you get used to it, it's gonna become very, very, very handy. And click whichever operating system you're using. For example, I'm using Mac. I click on Mac install and install it into your computer and so on. Okay, I already have it, so I'm going to go here and cancel this one because I already have it installed. So once you have it installed, the first thing that you need to do is you need to open that, search wherever the VS Code is located, wherever you install it, double click on it, open it inside your computer. So what you need to do is you need to do Command Shift and search wherever this Visual Studio Code is inside into your computer. For my case, I was able to kind of easily search for it, and then once I do that, I double click on it, and that should open the Visual Studio Code for me. So once VS Code is open, it should look something like this. Again, that might look a little bit scary, but don't worry, we're gonna walk you guys through. First thing first, you can either create a new file, or you can kind of go here to the top right corner and create a new file for yourself, okay? But for my case, I'm gonna go here and create a new file. So I'm gonna go here and click File and click Create New File. And then I can start writing some HTML code. So once you're here, guys, you can start writing some HTML code. So let's take an example on the thing that we write before, HTML1 and /HTML1. And inside of that, I can start typing something like hello world. Now, once you finish, make sure that you save this. To save this one, I can go inside File and click wherever it said Save, and find a place where you want to put that inside your computer. For my case, I'm going to put this one inside my document again. I'm going to name this one to be something more like test.html file, and I'm going to click save, and that should save that file for me inside that location. So if I go back inside my Finder again, now I have this text.html, and if I open this into the browser, and boom, there you go, I have the hello world, but this time I use the Visual Studio Code in order for me to start working working with HTML, you see, which is really cool. So moving on, if I go back inside this HTML W3 Schools, again, it's going to be your #1 source in order for you guys to start working with HTML. So if we go to the basic to kind of walk you guys through every single document that you're going to start with, they all start with something called doc type, and we're going to kind of break it down for you and kind of give you guys what every single one of them mean. But if I go back inside my VS Code, literally I should be, instead of having just element like this, they should all be inside a big document that start with doc type. So I'm going to start here, and you see I open a bracket and close it. I'm going to start with exclamation point doc type. And then after that, I do HTML, and then I'm going to go here and start writing some order tags. The order tag, I'm going to be writing something called HTML tag. So I'm going to go here and type HTML tag and close that one as well, which now I have my HTML tag right here. Now, the cool thing about HTML, as you guys can see here, it is all about tags, and the way tags work, you open them and closing them. The way you close them is using this slash right here. So that's a sign of us closing this single HTML tags right there. So I open this tag and close it, and this is my entire giant HTML. And then second, you need to have a couple order tags inside of that. #1, I need to have a body, like you can see here. This is a body. So I'm going to go here and do the body. So I'm going to go and open a tag. So for example, this one is my body, and I'm going to go here and close that tag. Now the body is what the user see. For example, everything that the user is going to see in the page visually, then that's where you're going to put all of that. For example, here I can start opening another tag, which is I can go here, which is /h1, and there you go. I have my h1 tag, and I can go here and say hello world or something like that, and then I can have a p tag. For example, here I have a p tag right here, and p tag is more for paragraph, and I can say welcome to my first HTML page. Again, guys, as you can see, I'm going very basic to make sure that you guys can follow along. Now, the cool thing about this is, in order for us to view the changes that we've done, we no longer need to go back and double click on this file. All we have to do is navigate where this file is already open in the browser, in this case, which is here. So I'm going to go here and refresh this page, and I should see the new change, which is right here. So again, guys, every single HTML that you have, make sure that they're at least inside this doc type and HTML tag. Now you might be wondering, okay, Sterling, I understand that, but why should we have it inside those tags right there? Well, the #1 reason is, for the first one here, for example, for doc type, there are multiple versions of HTML. So doc type is a way to tell us, okay, Sterling, I want to use the latest version, and by the way, this is the latest version. And the latest version of this current video, it's HTML5, and this is a way to tell the browser that, hey, we want to use the latest version of HTML, which is HTML5. And there's a lot of support that come with that, and a lot of other cool things that we can do with HTML tag, such as semantic elements, which we're going to cover in a second. But the goal behind this one tell us which version of HTML that we want to work with. For example, if I type tag HTML version, I can take a list and see different lists of HTML that I can work with. For example, if I go here into this link, if I go down, you can see this one is the one for that version of HTML5. And if I want to get the version of HTML4, I can go here and copy this entire link, go back inside my text editor, and then paste them in here. And now I'm currently using the version 4 of HTML, which is really cool, and I can switch between version and so on. Now, this version, I wouldn't recommend you guys to use it. It is kind of old, but just in case that you want to use multiple version of HTML, you can kind of do that inside the doc type. But I'm going to be using the latest one, which is the HTML5. So I'm going to copy this one here and go back in there and paste it right there. And now I'm using the HTML5 version of the page. Again, just keep that in mind. This is very important. And now the other one you need this is, again, this is something that you should always have, such as these HTML tag to kind of wrap everything inside of it. However, here you can specify the language that you want the browser to understand the web page in. For example, here I can refer to the list of language that I want the the browser to understand my HTML with, and I can type English, which is AN. Now, if you want to see an entire list of different language that they support, I can go back all the way where it said references. I can see here on their HTML link code, and I can see an entire list of code that I can put within that, such as Arabic and in so many other ones that I can mention, Chinese, and so many other ones that I can copy, paste in there, go back and kind of replace that in there. So again, guys, you have the ability to specify the language that you want this web page to work with. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the basic of where we are just to kind of illustrate certain points, but the goal behind this is always wrap your HTML inside this right here. Okay, and the body is what the user see in the page. Again, remember, guys, these are just tags that we are creating, the heading tags. Now, for the heading tags, there's multiple tags that you can use. But before we kind of talk about the tags, let me kind of show you guys some things that you can keep in mind as you go into, okay? For example, if I want to write an H1 tag, instead of having to do an opening tag and kind of go here and do that again, well, what I can do in this case is by default, whenever you're using VS Code, and this is one of the winner, instead of you having to use a text editor, like something like Text Edit and Notepad, with VS Code, when you start using VS Code, is so powerful that they give you a lot of things by default. One of the things that they give you by default is something called Embed. And Embed, what that is there's a lot of cool feature with this. So what that means is, instead of having to do something like this and start writing my tag, such as something like /1, I can start typing the word H1 and it auto-complete with a lot of lists of tags that I have available for me. And all of that, it is coming from the Embed abbreviation that VS Code give me by default. So now if I want to select H1, H2 tag, I can just click on the tag that I have and it auto completed for me with the closing tag and so on. And the same thing if I want to add an image tag, and it kind of give me with different things that I can add it with, which is really, really, really cool. So highly recommend, instead of you guys having to write the start and closing tag, I would highly recommend that you start using Embed in order for you to kind of have save your life and have that really, really easy for you. So I'm going to go here and I have H1. Now, one thing I want to call out as well is make sure that you do not have multiple H1 inside one web page, because what happens is, for SEO purposes, they're going to be using that one as the title of your page whenever people are sharing it and so on. So there is a total of 6 different tags. For example, there's H2 tag, which is that's one of them right here. There's H1 tag, and after that there is H4, 5, and all the way to 6. You got the idea and so on how many. There's the H5 tag, and then there's also the H6 tag, and all of them looks a little bit different. So if we start taking a look at them, I'm going to give you an example on how they look. So here's the list of all the 6 tags that I have. For example, these are the list of 6 heading tags that I have. So if I go back inside my browser, refresh this page, and this is how they look like. You can see all the way from H1 and this one H2 tag, and all the way to H3, H4 tag, and that's how they look like and so on. So you can utilize them however you want, but make sure that the H1 is always considered as the heading tag for this page. Now let's assume that you want to know an entire list of tags that the HTML have available. Again, this website gives you that entire list, so you can go under references, and if you click on HTML tags list right here, you can see an entire list of every single tags that you can possibly dream of that exists inside there, that you can definitely use inside your HTML stuff. For example, we can have here, which is P tag defines a paragraph, and that's the one that you saw us using over here as the P tag. And again, there's an entire list of things that you can use, which is very, very, very important, and highly recommend that you check this list out. Now, this is an entire list, which is an alphabetically order, but if you guys want to see them by category, you can go here. You can see that some of the basic HTML things here that you usually use, and you can see here these are the formatting one, and if I go all the way down, and these are for form input. For example, I can start using the form input to start having different things inside my page. For example, here I can use this tag. So if I go here, in order for us to have a form in the page, I can go here and start having this tag. I can go here and do an HTML form right here. So I have this form, and then inside of that, I'm going to use the input form with defines and end user input. So I can go here and define input and input right there. And if I go back inside this page, refresh it, and now you can see now I have a very basic input right there, which is really cool. And again, you can kind of have the idea. There's different things that you can do, such as you can even have a button if you want to. So if I go here and kind of define a button here, and for example, I can say click me, something like that, and then go back inside this page and refresh this, and there you go, you can see my button right here, and so on. So there's a lot of lists of tags that you can search, such as by categories and so on, that you can feel free to search. If I want to have images inside my page, I can use this this tag right there. So I can go here and go all the way back and select an image, and I can go here inside the image, and then in order for me to get the link, I can go here and select cat images on the internet. In order for me guys to add a cat image inside my HTML page, I can literally copy this, copy the URL, the image address, go back inside here, and I add this one inside the SOC, and if I paste this one in there and then go back inside my page, refresh this, and boom, you see now I can have my cat image inside my HTML page, which is really cool. There's a lot of things that you can do, such as even adding audio files if you want to, adding video. You can even add links if you want to. For example, if you want people to click on the link, I can have that by defining an a tag. So if I go here and go back inside my page, wherever I am, right after before the body, I want to make sure that I'm using an H tag. For example, here you can add the link that you want people to go to. For example, if I want people to go to google.com, I can go here and paste this link in there, and now whenever I go to Google, whenever people go in my page, they click on this, they will go to Google. So if I refresh this, and here's the link you see here, if I click this one, people will now go to google.com, and so on. So there's a lot of things that you can do here. The other thing I want to mention, such as lists, you can have a list of things. For example, if I go here and define an ordered list or ordered list, I can go here and kind of go back again. I'm going to define an unordered list. So I'm going to go here and do OL, define an ordered list. So after the OL, these are the list of the item that I can define. And if I go here, I can have H1 tag, which is I can say mango, something like that, and then go back again, define another one, and pineapple. And if I go back and look this one inside my page and see how this one look like, if I go back here, refresh this page, and now you can see that I have ordered list right here. So again guys, there's an entire list of things here that you can do. And if I want to define a table, for example, I can start defining a table. This one, define the table. So I can go back here, and if I go here, I can say table, and once I have that table, if I go here, this one consider as the header, this one consider as row of my table. For example, in my case, I can choose to have probably 3 rows. For example, this one's going to be 1 row, and I can go back again and copy that, so I have a total of 3 rows. And then inside the first one, I'm gonna have my head. Okay, so for example, if you want to define the head cell of the table, I use the tag th. So if I go here, th, and then this one, I'm gonna say first name, something like that. I'm gonna copy and paste this one. This one's gonna be a little bit last name, and then I can go here with this one, consider as age. Something very basic to kind of show you guys how this one look. Again, this one is considered as the first row, and if I kind of go here, I can have the first person to fill that one. And in order to kind of have different cells, for example, TD is the one that defines the cells of the table. Again, that might looks a little bit complicated, but the idea behind this is you have this website that you can kind of go to and really practice everything you want for your HTML. So I can go here, such as this one is going to consider as Jill, and I can have those 3 things, Smith, and I can go here with, hey, he is probably 50 years old. And the same thing for that, I can go on TD as well, and kind of make a couple things here. So this one could be my first name, and then second, which is my last name, Stelling, and let's assume that for now I'm living 120 years because my video is going to be there probably forever. But if I go back inside this page, refresh this one, and as you guys can see now, I have a table that looks like this. Again guys, this is my table here. You can see this is my first name, and this is a list of my first name, last name, and so on. You got the idea. So there's a lot of things that you can do here, which is really cool. And then the other thing I want to talk about, if you remember, we are now using HTML5 because we're using that doc type. So this one is considered as what they call semantic element. If I go here, remember we are using HTML5, I can now start using those semantic element right there, which is really, really cool. And the way that they come very, very handy is because before, if somebody wanted to have a header, what they do instead is they use a div as a section inside the document. So if I want to have a header, I go here and kind of have a header here. Probably this one is considered as my logo. I can have an unordered list, and within that unordered list, I can have probably 3 tags that I can consider as the home page, and then I kind of have an about page, and then I can kind of have a contact us page. So something very, very basic like that. And if I want to have a footer, before how we used to do things without the semantic element, if I want to have a footer, I can kind of go here and define a div and have a p tag, and this is the footer right here. Now, one of the things about that is, as you can see, everything I want to have, even a header tag, I need to start using what they call a div element. Now, with HTML semantic element, they come in, they say, hey, instead of you having to use div everywhere for different section of the page, there are clearly defined tags that you can use now in order to tell everybody that you want to use a header. So instead of me doing this, I can now replace this div tag with a header tag right here. So now this can clearly define my header tag, which is really, really awesome. And instead of having the footer that looks like this, I can clearly define my footer to be something like this. And now we have this footer right there, which is really cool. And if I open my HTML page again, I have my header, which kind of like look like this, and I can go back and see my footer that kind of look like this. Again, guys, this is more focusing on the HTML element that we have right now, which of course we have a lot of elements that we've worked with, but this is a really kind of overview of how you can start building the index HTML for you. Okay, now the other thing I want to show you guys, which is very, very important right here. Okay, now this one, the meta tag info, if you go back, we don't have this inside our page yet, but if you go back right here, this is the body of our HTML page right there, which is really, really cool. And again, these are the things that the users see in the page. As you can see here, I can kind of see there's unordered list, every single element in the page. But the meta info tags define information about the document. Those are things that the user do not see, okay? But they're really, really important in order for you guys to understand exactly everything you need inside your HTML. For example, the head tag, I need to have this one before the body. These are things that the user do not see in the page. For example, inside the head tag, I can start having some different tags right here. One example of a tag that I can have, if you take a look at this, take a look at this one right here. So this one said text.html. What if you wanted to have something like this that said try editor, or some sort of text that the user can see by looking at the tag without not even clicking on your website? So the bottom line here, something that they can clearly see what this page is about. So for that, inside the head tag, this is where you define those information. I can kind of come here and kind of have a title tag, such as saying something like welcome to my page. And now if I go back in the page, refreshing, and now you can see now this one over here said welcome to my app. And again, these are the things that the user don't see on the page, but there are more information about what the page is all about. The other one that's also very important is this one right here. So this one tells define metadata about HTML page. So a lot of search engine use that tag to kind of read and get further information for your browser to display them inside Google search. For example, when I did a search about image, as we can see here, I can see this one is the title, and then this text over here is the content. So search engine like Google use those information, including social media platform like Facebook, in order to take a look and see and kind of takes those information and share them into their page whenever you're sharing content on their platform. For example, here I can define the title on my page in case Google want to see what this page is about, to get that information from my page in case I'll rank on Google. So I can kind of come here and add a meta tag, and that meta tag that I'm going to be adding. So inside that metadata, I'm going to add something called attributes into them. Now, every single element have that ability to add attributes to them. So if I go here and click attributes, so you can kind of see here what attribute is all about. So it provides additional information about the HTML element. So again, remember, this is one HTML element. Now it adds some further additional information about that element, and there's all HTML elements can have attributes inside of them, and they provide additional information about that element. And then things to keep in mind too, like every single attribute you add, they always specify the start tag, okay, not the end. And they are things like name value pairs, such as, hey, this is the name of it and this is the value of that attribute. For example, here we can add a tag such as name, and then inside of that we give it the value it needs. For example, this one, I can say this one is my first HTML ever, something like that for Google to see. And then after that I can add content such as this is, for example, I can say something, this is me doing a demo for HTML stuff and so on. So this one will, when Google are looking at my website, they will first get the name and the content that I display in order for them to kind of have something like this for their search engine to display inside my page and so on. There's an entire list of them that you can search on the internet, but feel free to kind of go here and kind of search that out. The other cool thing that you can add inside the head tag, which we're not gonna really focus about that in this class, but you can add some CSS into here. For example, I can style using a tag called style, and this is where I can start using some CSS, where I can kind of go here and select the body and give probably a background color of green, and then give the whole height of 300 pixels. Again, this is beyond the scope of this, but I want to show you guys how this looks or represent right now. So if I go back inside my page, refresh this, and you can kind of see now the entire page change into green. But again, you can add some CSS tags here as well. So the head tag is something that is really powerful. A lot of marketing folks use it to kind of really have something very descriptive on Google and so on. So highly recommend you guys learn more about the head tag, which is something that is really powerful. But again, CSS is out of the scope of this video. We just want to make sure that you understand everything you need to do about HTML. And last but not least, there's some programming tags that you can add, such as script tag for your JavaScript file, which we're not gonna go over. This is way beyond of this video. Before that, I want to go back and kind of show you guys some sort of the audio and video tag that you can use in order for you to play some audio on your page. So if I click on audio, I can go, if I click on audio here, it kind of gives me an example of some of the audio tags that I can go ahead and kind of mess around with. Okay, so if I copy this one here and go back inside my index.html file, I can go back inside my body, and all the way inside my body, I can go here and kind of add this audio file right there. Now, again, if I go back into the page, refresh this page, it won't look like anything amazing. But what I can do here instead is, instead of having this link, you can actually add a link to an audio file that you have on the internet or either on your local computer. For this one, I'm going to go on the internet and search for HTML audio SR URL. So I'm going to try to see if I can find an example of one that I can use and kind of show you guys a demo. So I'm going to go to this one with Computer Hope. So I'm hoping that they can give me an audio URL. So if I go here, and it seems like they kind of give me this audio URL. So I'm going to copy this one, verify it first to make sure it works. So if I paste this one here, it should play. So there you go. This is an example here. So what I can do in my case is go back inside my VS Code, replace those links right there using this audio tag right here. So if I go back now inside my page, refresh it, then I should go ahead and kind of see this audio tag here, and I can play it inside my web page right here. So again, guys, there's so many things that you can do here, which is really cool. And again, guys, the same thing goes for the video one. For example, if I go here on the audio and video one and click this video tag, so if I click on here, I will find some sort of example of video that I can go ahead and copy. And if I go here inside my code right after the audio tag, I'm going to go here and paste them in there. And all I need to do is find a URL of that audio as well. So I'm going to go back on Google. So I'm going to search for the same thing. So if I search for this tag right here, so if I go all the way down and see wherever it said html.com, if I click on this one right here, I should be able to kind of get a tag for you guys to kind of show you guys, get a link of a video to kind of show you guys a demo on how this works. So if I go here and copy this link, so I'm going to open it into a new tab to verify this work. This actually is a real link. There just seems like there's a video to it. So what I'm going to do is go back inside my VS Code and replace those one with the MPG4, and in case that you have a link for the right here, so you can do that as well. For mine, I'm gonna just go ahead and comment that out. So I'm gonna go back inside my web page wherever I'm building this one. If I refresh this, and there you go, ladies and gentlemen, this is my video and audio, and I can play that along the way, which is really cool. Now this is really great, guys. We've gone a lot of things. There are a couple other things that I want to mention before I kind of wrap up this video, which is very important. The last thing I want to mention, which I know you all guys watching this on YouTube, so you definitely might be wondering, okay, Sterling, how can you add YouTube video into an HTML page. So I'm going to go here all the way where it said media. So there is a link here where you can find and see how you can search for YouTube videos. So you can kind of here in this section, all I have to do is first, I need to kind of go here and copy that iframe. I'm going to use the iframe that as the recommended way for me to kind of go ahead and do that. So I'm going to copy this link right here and go back inside my page right below that video. So I'm going to add that iframe right there as a way for you guys to kind of see what you can do in order for you to go ahead and kind of do that, which is really cool. So all I have to do is wherever you have the YouTube video is search the ID of that video. For my case, I already have a video, so I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you guys an example of a video I already have. For example, this one is a video I already have uploaded. It's a 30-something minute video showing people how to build React hooks. This is definitely not for you guys as you haven't gone with React yet, but if I copy this video ID and go back inside my HTML page and we place this one right here. So if I replace this one here and go back into my web page, refresh it, and boom, there you go. You can see now I uploaded this YouTube video into here and I can play that YouTube video inside my iframe and so on. All right, guys, before we wrap up this video, there's a couple of last thing I'm going to show you guys, which is very important. The other thing I'm going to show you guys is this. Check this out, right? So for example, if I wanted to kind of build this ordered list, I have to kind of type every single element manually. But if you remember throughout this session, we said that by default, VS Code comes with something called Embed. Okay, there's one thing I can do here, which is very interesting. I can go here and do OL on this one and then LI, multiply this one by how many I want. If I want 2, I can do that, or if I want 6, I can do that. I have 6 different elements, which is a really cool shortcut that I can do, such as mango. I can go back again and hit tab, it goes to the next line, pineapple, and I can kind of have something like this, which is really handy. So if you want to have a list of where you can do that, just search on Google Embed list and you will find things like this, and this will kind of give you guys a list of every single things that you can do with image, such as this is the one that I use, and child and siblings, and there's so many other ones that you can do with image. So highly recommend you guys check this out and be really good with HTML. The other thing I want to show you is this. Sometimes you can be coding HTML and you have no idea what you've done wrong. Maybe you misspell something or something wrong and you can't really find where this is located inside your code. So one thing that you can do is this. You can copy this entire thing. So you copy everything that you have and you go into Google and search for HTML validator, and once you find this first link right here, and this is a way to kind of validate and see if you've done something wrong. There's different ways you could do that. I'm going to select the one with that direct input. So once I go here and click this one and click check, it will tell you either or not you had an error. For my case, as you can see here, everything seems to be completed, no error or warning, everything's good to go. But in case that I had some sort of error, for example, let's assume that we had some sort of error. Let's assume that I go here and delete this h2 tag accidentally, or I didn't know about it. I deleted that h1 tag, and I can kind of go here and copy this and go here, replace this one, paste this one in there and click check, and there you go. You can kind of see it highlight the error for me. It told me that, hey, for some reason this one doesn't have a closing tag, this one is unclosed, and it also highlight the URL tag, something is missing inside of it, and so on. So highly recommend this tool in order for you guys to validate everything that you're doing. By now we at least have a lot of HTML that we've written, right? Things can get a little bit messy in terms of we don't know exactly where we are in the code. And some of the things that you can use, which is very useful, is add some sort of comments inside your code. And comment is a way to kind of, when things start getting a little bit complicated in your code, you need to think about leaving some sort of comments for other people that are looking at your code to see exactly what you're talking about, or maybe even for your future self to take a look at your code. What I mean by your future self is, let's say that you write this code today, and 2 years later you want to look at it and kind of see what this code is doing, then comment is a really good way for you guys to have an idea of what this was. For example, here the way you leave comment with HTML is like this. You first open this bracket, and then this one has an exclamation point, and then you do dot space. As you can see, it auto completed for me. So the way you do it is you first do that exclamation point, and then you use that 2 dash, and this one again, that is a comment that you have, and inside that you can start writing some comment. For example, this is the navigation section or the header section, whatever you guys want to call it. But the idea behind it is adding something more description for yourself, for anybody looking at this code to kind of have an idea what this section of the code is doing. For example, this could be one comment, and I can kind of copy and paste this and kind of come here. This is I can say something like just demo of h1 tags and so on. Now there is an easy way you can leave them instead of you having to kind of have to write those right here. So what you can do here is you can come here right there. You can start adding text what this comment is about. For example, I can say this is a sample form, and if you want to make sure that this automatically got comment, what you need to do is put your cursor at the end of this text, which is right here, and then press command slash. So wherever you have a command plus a slash on your keyboard, and it will automatically comment that for you like this, which is really cool. Now, in case you want to see some of the best practices in terms of what you should always have in your HTML and things that you should not always have in your HTML, if we go back to W3 Schools again, if you go all the way down, there is something called Style Guide, which kind of give you guys some of the best practice and coding convention that you should follow whenever you're writing HTML. So here you should always declare the document.tab after the first line in your document. So this is something that should always be there. In lowercase, you can use if you want to have consistently with lowercase, it is perfectly fine to have that. And the other thing is use lowercase names for a lot of things. For example, mixing uppercase and lowercase is bad. For example, if you have an uppercase and lowercase within your HTML code, this is something that's definitely is bad. It looks bad. For example, here, instead of having an HTML tag that is all the way uppercase, which still gonna work, but the idea behind it is try to avoid this. And if you have something like this where you mixing them up, like this one is kind of like I have the uppercase and with lowercase, and then you have uppercase, this is extremely bad. So try to keep some sort of consistently throughout your code as you're coding HTML, so always have that. The other thing is always try to close all your HTML element that require closing tag. For example, don't do this. Don't leave like a p tag open like this, even though this will still gonna work, but always try to make sure that you are closing every single element tag that you open. There are some of them that are self-closing tags, such as image tag that are closing, self-closing, that you don't need to do that. But for those that do require you to close them, so always make sure that you close them as considered as best practice. Some of the empty HTML elements, it is okay for you to allow them. For example, this one right here, it is okay either or not you put the slash at the end to close that, but it is okay to kind of leave them like this, either with the slash or without the slash. For example, here you can kind of see and so on. And also use lowercase name attribute for to keep that consistency. So do not have an attribute with kind of uppercase class like this. This is kind of the best practice that you should follow. So for attribute values, HTML allow attribute of values without quote, but what they recommend you is they recommend for you to put quotes inside of them, because developers quoted values are easier to read, and you must use quote if the value contains space and so on. So it will help you in the future in case that value contains some sort of space, so that you don't have to worry about none of that. For example, this is bad. This is extremely bad. This is bad as well. What you need to do is you need to use quotes around the value of your attributes. And for image attributes, always use the ALT attributes. It is good for accessibility, like we saw. For example, this one is bad because it does not contain the ALT attributes. This one is good because it does contain that. And spaces and equal sign, again, spaces allow space around equal sign. That's fine, but less space that you have, easier it is to read and kind of group entities better together. So do not kind of leave the space here. Try to avoid doing that whenever you're coding HTML. Always try to kind of do not leave space between the name and the value pair of the attribute that you're using. The other thing you need to try to avoid to do is try to avoid long line. And what they're talking about, sometimes some of the lines are very long. So if we go back inside our HTML file, for example, this one is bad right here. Okay, so because we're using it on the internet, that's fine. But for example, here you see how long I have to scroll just for me to get that image, which is totally bad. So the goal behind this is try to use some sort of image link that are very short. If that require, you might need to install to download the image, but try to avoid doing that, which is considered as best practice. So that's what they're all referring here right here. So again, guys, there's an entire style guide in terms of the best practice that you should go to and kind of follow along. For example, here they're talking about unnecessary space. For example, we don't need a space here where we can actually remove the space and kind of have that. If you don't have the space, it will be fine, but best practices is always kind of remove the unnecessary space that you don't have and so on. So definitely highly recommend you kind of go through this entire list. The other one right here is in the HTML tag and the body tag can be omitted. So if you do not add the HTML tag and the body tag, the HTML will work fine. However, as best practices, we do not recommend to omit the HTML tags and the body tags. You should always try to include them because it is recommended for you to specify the page language that you want the web page to be in. In this one, it is in English, United States, and so on. And the other thing is, do not omit the head tag as well, because again, they do not recommend that. You should always have that head tag in order for you to have a lot of things inside of it and so on. So again, there are a lot of best practice here that you guys should follow. The other one that we didn't have a chance to kind of cover, which is very important, is the viewport. And the viewport is something very important in case that you guys are building a website that are responsive across different devices. For example, here the viewport is the user visibility area of the web page. It varies with the device, and it will be smaller on mobile phone than on a computer screen. And what that means is, whenever you're building web page, you should always consider include this one inside wherever the header tags right here. So you should go here and kind of include that one right there, because what kind of happen is this is how your website will look like on a mobile device if you do not have that viewport meta tag. Okay, you see, you're gonna have to zoom in order for you guys to kind of see the content. But if you do have it on a mobile device, whenever people are seeing that your website, they will look at something like that. They don't have to zoom in to see all the content. So it is very important that you always have this tag in there, which is very critical. The other thing is, if you are leaving comment, like we saw, one-liner should be fine. But if you have a lot of comment that you're leaving, they recommend that you put them like this. Again, feel free to kind of go here and kind of read through the entire things. I think we've gone through the most important things. For the file extension, you can have either that HTML or you can have that HTM, and there is no difference between them. You can even have that HTML or that HTML extension. Both of them will be treated as HTML by any web browser or web server out there. Okay, so there is no difference if you want to name your HTML file as something like that HTML or that HTML. Again, guys, feel free to kind of go through here and kind of read some of the best practices, things that you should follow. I think we cover a lot of them that you should consider to do in order for your HTML style guide and coding convention. There are some quizzes here that you can kind of go ahead and kind of answer some questions, where you can start certain quiz here, which is very important just for you guys to kind of go ahead and get started with some HTML. You can kind of see what does HTML stand for. It stands for hypertext markup language. Okay, you can kind of select and kind of see here and kind of build that up, build your HTML skills using this quiz. There are over 40 questions that you can kind of go to and so on. The other thing that also important, there are also some exercises that you can take, which is very important. You can kind of go here and start certain exercise about HTML that you go to. So this website is really great to kind of get a lot of practice with HTML. You can kind of see here and so on to kind of get more data about that one. For example, here they said add a tooltip to the paragraph below with the text about. So we already have the text about. All we have to do is add that attribute here, and if I submit that answer, yes, I got that correct. So there's different exercise that you can kind of go through and kind of really practice your HTML skills The other thing here, there's also some examples that you can kind of go ahead and kind of see different example of different other tags that you can see. So there are tons of things here that you guys can definitely master and kind of go here and kind of play around with it, which is really cool. So ladies and gentlemen, this has been a lot of things for you guys, for me to kind of go over. This is everything I had for you. Again, if this is your first time here, do not forget to hit the subscribe button. Again, this will definitely gonna help me to kind of produce more video like this for you guys. And there are a ton of other videos that I've made. If you are a little bit advanced, definitely go ahead and check them out, but expect a lot more videos regarding beginner friendly here on this channel as well, in order to kind of help you guys become a full stack developer. So do not forget to hit that subscribe in order for you guys to stay tuned with more videos, and see you in the next video.